Tuesday, April 29th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, the board game Risk.
Let's do this. So way back, someone lent me, before I had played any Fire Emblems, someone lent me the GBA Fire Emblems 1 and 2, right? I played the first one. It was okay, and then I played the second one, since I had them both at the same time. And the second one was far superior, so I didn't bother with the first one. And I got way into the second one. But then, I forget why, it was when I was working in the middle of nowhere, I kind of put it down, and then even though I really liked it, I couldn't pick it back up. It was sort of one of those things where it's like, if you don't stay on the track, it's like if you get off, you have to get back on at the beginning, or else you're kind of...
Kind of like way back in the day. I never actually beat Final Fantasy Legend 1.
Legend 1.
Yeah.
Good deal. Who cares?
That was a good game.
Wait. Was Legend 1 the one with the tower that
yes.
goes... Oh, that's a good one. Never mind.
Yeah, it is. But Legend 2 was good because that had that ultimate moment with the
Legend
bad guys.
2 is the one I didn't play, but Legend 3 is my favorite one.
Actually, I think Legend 2...
Even though most people hate Legend 3.
Legend 2 is probably the best one in terms of gameplay.
I don't know. I'm not going to bother talking about that.
If I explain to you how the robot works, I think you'll convert to Legend 2. But anyway.
No, Legend 3, your dad is a B2.
Yeah. But
unstoppable.
The reason I stopped playing and never beat Legend 1 was that I was playing, and then I didn't for a while. I was playing other Game Boy games and Game Gear games, and like a year later, I was like, oh yeah, I should finish this game. And I didn't know which way was up and which way was down. And I walked a bit in one direction, and then 20 minutes later, I was like, am I going the wrong way? So I walked in the other direction, got back 20 minutes, walked another 10 minutes, wasn't sure if that was the right way, said fuck it, and never played the game again.
I started the same thing with Golden Sun. I love Golden Sun, right? And I beat Golden Sun 1. But Golden Sun 2 is so much bigger. And you reach a point in Golden Sun 2, this is a little bit of a spoiler, you basically have 4 characters in Golden Sun 1, and you have 4 different characters in Golden Sun 2. But you reach a point in Golden Sun 2 where the 4 characters from Golden Sun 1 join the party, so now you have 8 people, but you have to, you sort of have to arrange a party of 4, so 4 people sit on the back burner while you actually play with the other 4.
Hey, what about Final Fantasy 6? You have 12 people.
I know. But the thing is, right, is that you use a code or you use a link cable to bring over the characters you played with in Golden Sun 1 to Golden Sun 2. So it's not just, if you didn't play Golden Sun 1, they just give you 4 characters. But if you did, they load your shit in as your stuff exactly as it was when you beat Golden Sun 1.
Hey, even better, Destiny of an Emperor. You had 400 characters.
Yeah. But the thing is you get to this point, and now you have to manage, right, the items and the djinns and the magic of 8 people, which is pretty tedious. And it's at that point you
putting stuff in, taking stuff out.
Right. It's at that point in the game I'm like, and and Golden Sun 2 is a lot longer and bigger than Golden Sun 1. So at that point in the game I'm just kind of and I put it down. And then I really have a hard time picking it back up because I got to manage all that shit. So I got to restart Golden Sun 2 again. But then I forget the story, so I got to restart Golden Sun 1.
Did you ever actually play through Final Fantasy 3 or 5?
What, the real 3?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, because the 3
5
was
the job one, right?
So was 3.
Oh, those are both the job ones? I thought 2 was the job one.
2 was different.
Okay. But 3 and 5 are the jobbers.
3 and 5 are the kind of modern style hardcore jobbers.
Yeah, I can't play them.
Both games had the syndrome of, all right, we're in the world. Oh shit, that was a tiny part of the world. Here's the real world.
Yeah, I like that part. That's a cool part. But
yeah, of course, 4 was even better, where it had 3 completely independent worlds.
They should make Chrono Trigger DS. I'd play that.
I probably would too, because Chrono Trigger is not the best game ever from a game mechanic perspective. But in terms of one of those RPG-style games, that game was badass.
I think the reason that Chrono Trigger is so great is that it's a turn-based, RPG, just like the Final Fantasies, but it's still playable today, whereas the others are not so much. Anyway.
6 is, but only because of the story.
Right, yeah, pretty much.
The story kind of pulls me along, and
because it's easy. If it was a little bit harder, and I wouldn't play it. And also, if the Ultros wasn't there, I wouldn't play it.
Ultros. I remember the best thing in the whole game. Forget all the tragedy and the
when
wonderful.
you go up to that painting.
That was when you're in the. And you go over to that painting, you're like, wow. You see a painting of Ultros, and you walk up to it, and you wonder what the character's going to say. Hit A, and it says, wow, that looks familiar. And then Ultros fucking pops out of the painting and attacks you.
That's awesome. Anyway, so back to my original point was that, I picked up Fire Emblems, and I liked them, but I didn't finish them. So I've been waiting for Fire Emblem DS, and they have said there's going to be Fire Emblem DS. I'm not a fan of the console GameCube Wii Fire Emblems. I want the DS Game Boy one, right? But it's not, they don't even have a release date. There's barely any screenshots. There's almost no information. It's like coming later, maybe in the holiday season, maybe even later than that, right? It could be a year away for all I know. So I said, there are plenty you go to the DS shelf, and you see a lot of those no-name RPG-ish. They look like JRPG games, but they're not quite really, and you see plenty of them. And
well, it's hard to say. I mean, I remember way back, we were in a store and we saw Thousand Arms, and someone was like, I don't recognize, what's that game? And then we realized it was kind of a JRPG, but also a dating game.
Yeah. So Atlas, or the people who made Golden Sun, I kind of trust them to be quality, right? They had this game, Rondo of Swords, coming out, and I looked at it, and I'm like, oh, it looks sort of like Fire Emblem, but you can attack more than one guy at a time. So like if there's 3 guys lined up, you can just go stab, 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 and stab all 3 of them in a row. Just like move your guy right through them. And I said, oh, that could be interesting, right? So I said, you know what, fuck it, I'll pre-order this shit, and then I'll screen it for everybody. Well, actually, I got it, and it's like, it's okay, but I haven't played it that much, and I don't feel this urge to play it some more, but I think I'm gonna. But it's not bad, but it's sort of weird. It's not what I expected. I expected sort of a Fire Emblem type of game, right? A little, tactics, Final Fantasy tactics, kind of move around a grid, cast magic spells, stab with swords, right? But it's actually the fact that you can just walk right through the other guys and they can walk right through you and stab multiple guys in a turn basically means that it's not a tactics game. It's a puzzle game. They give you a map of bad guys and you have your guys and you have to sort of, figure out how do I move my guys along what path, considering how far they can move to where I can kill all the guys that are near enough to me to do some serious hurt. But, be out of range of getting seriously hurt on the next round. And if you like a puzzle game like that, it's kind of a good puzzle game. There's, some RPG stuff thrown in there, like leveling up and, magic and items or whatever. But that stuff's just all BS because it's not like you really have much of a choice. You're just sort of going through the game, solving the puzzle. You can't grind or anything. You just kill all the bad guys on the screen, But there's multiple endings and there's different, I'm pretty like on the first map, right? It's like, you start as a shit ton of bad guys, like way more than you can handle, and you've only got like 3 guys, right? And there's like a giant army coming from the south. I'm pretty sure that if you found some way to kill that giant army from the south, then you get like the immediate awesome ending. But yeah, if that little puzzle game sounds okay, Rondo of Swords, but it's not Fire Emblem. It is not. Don't think it's the wrong thing like I did.
See, it's tough because on one hand, I want to play a different game, but on the other hand, I'm working on turning all my A's into S's in Advance Wars.
Yeah, I mostly picked this up because I kind of stopped with the Advance Wars.
Yeah, but instead of playing mediocre games, maybe you could watch some anime.
Yeah, maybe.
Nah.
Yeah.
Gotta watch that Bokurano. I kind of want to review it full on.
All right.
Oh, well. So, in the news, instead of talking about gaming news in particular, I want to talk about something that we missed talking about last week, partly because we totally copped out on half our shows.
Yeah, something like that.
But at the New York Comic Con, we were walking around being pressed, and I got some good little interviews that I'll pop in here and there whenever they come up. And someday we'll do a show on, French comics, and that interview I did with the French people will be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say the French comics are kind of awesome looking.
Yep.
But we wandered over to the Upper Deck area. Upper Deck, as you know, is making the World of Warcraft CCG, or TCG, as people like to say nowadays.
Yeah, basically, I would have nothing to care about that game whatsoever, right? But Gabe and Tycho of Penny Arcade, who have opinions I often respect, they were like, oh man, this game is so great. And also, it wasn't the fact that they were saying the game was great. It was the fact that Tycho was alluding to, in the comics and in his posts, role-playing aspects to the game. And I was kind of like,
Which made us realize something awesome. So this is an aside, but you'll hear about it soon. You might all be familiar with the game of Diplomacy. If you're not, it is known, like, if you don't know, if you're not a gamer, like a tabletop board gamer, or you've never heard of this, find one of your, neck-bearded gamer friends and be like, hey, you want to play Diplomacy? Because he will explain to you that Diplomacy is otherwise known as Breaker of Friendships.
yeah.
But we realize if we take a game like Diplomacy and add a role-playing element, even if it's
Diplomacy sort of has a role-playing element.
Yeah, but you
right?
can play it in a completely game theory, like,
Right.
all right, Scott, let's gang up on Alex because of blah.
But Magic the Gathering does not have a role-playing element, but
It did.
one could be added.
When I was a kid, remember, there was that official way of playing, the 5-pointed star, where there were 5 decks of 5 different colors, and you had to beat the 2 people across from you.
Yeah, but it didn't have a role-playing element in the rules.
Oh, no, I guess
like
it
Diplomacy does.
Well,
And
Diplomacy
Magic-
barely does.
It barely, but it has some, and it does have some. But yeah, so I was intrigued by that, and actually, a lot of people were saying, D&D, which we've basically forsaken, right? Is going to become more like a card game. Oh, it's going to be like a video game. Oh, and
Back in the 90s, that was like the biggest fear of everyone in the world. People like Dragon Magazine would have articles from DMs who were like, my game was ruined. Everyone comes over and they just want to play goddamn Magic. Damn you, Watsy. Damn you.
and then they bought D&D, but
And then everyone went, oh, no!
But
I don't think
I
you
thought
understand
of-
the level of bitching that we had to go through.
But
back
after
then.
reading Tycho's posts about how they were introducing role-playing elements into the World of Warcraft card game, despite not liking the MMO, just because they put the same theme on a card game doesn't mean it's got the same problems the MMO has, right? I can't immediately just associate the hate based on the, license of the property, right? I said, hey, that could actually be good. Academically thinking about it, like, a card game with some role-playing.
And we even have some ideas.
That's
like,
sort of a new thing.
I imagine you could make a kind of simple role-playing game with cards that would be awesome. But I also imagine if you took some mechanics from, say, Burning Wheel, but you had this kind of drafting card-based character creation for one-off scenarios, especially if it's interactive and a shared space kind of deal.
Or
where you're
even
kind of
like
collectively making all the characters with the cards.
Or even like if somehow, not your whole campaign or whatever, but like encounters could be set with cards, It could have some of the fun elements that like the Starfarers of Catan had with like the little yes-no paths.
Or even say you all the players in the game, there's this meta element where you have cards that cause external events, not from your character. It's kind of like every player has a hand of God, Dungeon Master does something things.
Right.
So we're playing, and then say, I'm like, I want to spice this up. And I just toss out Ogre Attacks in the Night and see what happens, even though I'm in the party.
Yep. So that element of role playing in the card game interested me. So I said, hey, we got nothing to do here, right? Let's go over and we have press badges. They will totally like kiss our feet and run us a demo of the card game, and we won't have to pay any money.
Now, it was funny. We walked over there and we're like, hey, we kind of walk in front of this line. We're like, hey, we want to demo the card game. And we'd like to film it and record it.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's like, then he looks, sees the press badge. He's like, oh, well, right this way, sir.
But first, they were trying to push us on their World of Warcraft miniatures game.
I want to talk about that first.
Yeah,
so
okay.
They haven't announced all the details yet. By PAX, they're going to have all the details out. Actually, somewhat before then. But there is going to be a World of Warcraft collectible miniatures game. And warning bells were going off because 1, they had to kind of like force us to go look at this thing. 2, they put 2 incredibly attractive women in charge of making us like this game.
Yep.
The rest of it was all just like kind of schlubby, normal gamer dudes teaching you how to play. But they had these 2 women who obviously were they were booth babes. They were designed.
I don't think they were booth babes. I think one of them was actually the PR person.
But they were so like, it was so transparent what they were trying to do to us.
Yeah, it was pretty odd. I think that's the reason they set up the booth, though, is, it's like we want to push our new stuff, more heavily than they want to push their existing stuff.
But then, warning bell number 2 goes off when the first thing they say is, before we go any further, look at these figures. Look how high quality these collectible figures are. Look at that craftsmanship. Look at that paint. The drop rates, and she actually said the drop rates for rares in boosters are such and such.
Wow.
Drop rates.
Yeah.
So we continue, and I'm like, so how's the game go? She's like, oh, we can't talk about game mechanics.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I was like, at all? They're like, not at all. And I was like, okay. And we kind of stood there staring at them like, well, what the fuck do you expect us to ask now?
Yeah, it's like we don't give a shit about anything except the game. We don't care how high quality your miniatures
So
are.
they're like,
if I
wait.
want high quality figures, I'll go over to the Origin booth where they're selling the Revoltech, Yotza box.
So, oh man, that Yotza
and
box.
the Tezuka Moderno line.
Also, I gotta say, there was this Makoto Kusanagi figure.
I've pretty much decided that is the only toy company that should be allowed to remain in
There
existence.
seems to be this push that's getting bigger and bigger now, at least in the kind of anime and comic fandom area, where they're pushing these very, very high quality kind of, like, there's the tchotchkes, like the $4 PVC. There's like this cheap ass Lupin or this cheap
It's like
ass
a gachapon from like a bubble. It's cheap.
But now they're pushing these like super high quality, high class. Like, I live in Manhattan. I got a fancy apartment with like ultra modern furniture. And I have this figure of Mario. And this Mario figure is so high class that it fits right in next to the paintings by real artists.
Yeah. And on the one hand, I kind of like it. On the other hand, I could do without it.
What I was surprised by, though, they had this figure of the Major from Ghost in the Shell. And the butt was somewhat reasonably sized.
Yeah, I'd say it was actually somewhat flat. Flatter than it should be.
I think that's just because of you expected so much. Like, I expected to look around at it and poke my eye out. And when it wasn't there, I didn't know what to do.
I guess that's true. Anyway, so the miniature game.
Dave Riley's crying.
The miniature game, very sad for us. They didn't tell us the rules, so we couldn't make fun of it.
We pushed him, and I kept asking like more and more complexly worded questions that basically were, what are the game mechanics?
Yeah.
And they started kind of slipping, and we learned that it's like 2-on-2 or 3-on-3. It's not like these big battles.
Yeah.
So it's like I have my 3 guys and you have your 3 guys, and it's broken up by faction. So if I go Alliance, I can only have Alliance figures. And they admitted that, yes, some figures are just better in every way, but don't worry, the drop rates are real low.
So, yeah.
And so Scott asks, wait a minute, so if I have more money, I can just make the best thing? And they were like,
Yeah, they don't. No, it's the kind of questions that people actually care about game mechanics are not questions that any PR person from an American game company is prepared to answer.
Yeah, but they also admitted that there's going to be a mat.
Yep.
And
they said there's going to be multiple maps.
Yes, and the drop rates for those, don't get me started. They're special. Actually, we learned something kind of weird on the aside. You know how you go to like, Scott asked about this, it was a good question. You know how you go to like a Magic tournament or whatever, and a lot of people have these like big official looking mouse pads.
Yeah, like they'll play, Pokemon, right? And you can just play Pokemon on a table, but some people have like those mats that have like little squares, like put your deck here, put your Pokemons here, put your discard pile here, and it's, and then it says like Pokemon's big exploding Pokeball, right?
So Scott asks, hey dude, where do you get those things? I see them everywhere. But
yeah, it's like whenever I see a tournament or something, that people have these mats that are designed for the collectible card game to be played on, right? Sort of like the board in St. Petersburg is just a mat designed to play St. Petersburg.
Yeah, St. Petersburg
which is a card game.
Actually, just a card game.
Yeah, they just comes with a board to play it on, and I'm like, I see these mats around all the time, but I'd never seen them for sale in a store. Where do you get them? He's like,
the guy looks at us. This is the other guy from later, but he basically looks at us
this
like
is the guy who was actually demoing the card game, not selling the miniatures game.
He looks at us for a second like we're stupid. And then he says, you get them if you win regional tournaments.
And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So,
and we were like, so you can't just buy them? And he was like, well, you can usually get them on eBay.
Yeah, I mean, you can get anything on eBay.
But the look was like, it was that moment, because that was near the end of our little interview where he was like, oh, wait a minute. I don't think these guys are hip to my whole card gaming world.
Well, I found one Pokemon card game playmat on eBay, but searching for Pokemon card game mat. It's $6, and it's a Japan limited number 3.
Only $6?
Yeah, I don't think that's I think that's Japan, where you might be able to just buy them on the shelf.
But it's a limited. Number 3.
I know, right?
Limited.
Anyway, so the World of Warcraft card game, right? We start playing it. And it's funny because I didn't want to compare it or associate it to World of Warcraft in any way. I wanted to sort of separate it in my mind from my opinion of World of Warcraft and examine the card game on its own as a card game.
We were really trying to be objective. And
if anything, I was going to compare it to Magic.
And furthermore, we were trying to kind of get a feel for it, not necessarily from the, is it a good straight-up game, but also the, could you have fun with it if you role-played or didn't take it seriously?
Yep. And I still get the feeling, even after playing it, that while I don't think it's that great, which we'll talk about in a second, I do think that if you had a bunch of friends and you played those raids, that you could get some role-playing on.
I don't know.
It wouldn't be. The thing is,
really leery because of something the guy said near the end, where we basically, by the end of this interview, we're sitting there and we're like, so this game is basically 80% deck construction and like 15% luck and 5% tactics. And the guy's like, yeah, it's all deck construction.
Yep.
To which we say, so then playing doesn't matter at all, does it? It's just deck construction. That's the game. Why bother playing?
Why just make a deck, then show your deck to the other person, they show their deck to you.
And his response was, no, that's not true. And we were like, all right, dude.
Yeah.
But then we were like, well, what about the rage? He's like, oh, no, the rage is where the game shines. And he talked a bit, but the sentence he said was, I forget what raid about which he was talking. But he said, yeah, it's all about just the memorization, right? So I played What's It Raid like 40 times before I finally figured out how to beat it. And then I just made a deck that beat it like that, and it was awesome.
I'm like, okay, so I could just buy the raid deck, look at all the cards in it, then look at all the cards I have, figure out exactly which cards I need to beat the raid deck. Then what's the point of playing? It's like just buying a jigsaw puzzle almost and then solving it. Only I need to buy, I don't get all the pieces. I have to keep buying more pieces until I have all the pieces I need to solve the jigsaw puzzle.
Now, at the same time, we went into this, and I was trying not to compare it to Magic. I mean, I've played a bunch of card games over the years, a little bit, mostly by borrowing decks. So I played the Harry Potter game, which was garbage. I played Yu-Gi-Oh!, which was garbage.
Yeah.
I played Pokemon.
I played Magic for a while. Which
Pokemon was slightly less garbage.
Pokemon, I definitely say, is slightly less garbage. At least I played the original one, and I still have maybe a couple hundred cards. That's about it. Maybe. Not even that. And that was definitely... It still has all the fundamental problems of a CCG, but in all honesty, it is the best one that I've played. I'm sure there might be others out there.
But I'm trying not to compare it to Magic, especially old Magic. Because remember, I remember when Magic almost died and when like buying of Magic cards dropped off and all the game stores stopped carrying it for a while. And that was when I said, wow, Magic is dead. And it wasn't just me. Like a lot of players at the time agreed. Magic is dead, and the Fallen Empires expansion is what killed it.
I started playing Magic when the Fallen Empires was just about to come out.
Yeah, there was like this decay.
Like I bought like a revised and then a Fallen Empires booster.
And then the game kind of faltered. Then it was like Ice Age, and new players started coming in, and the game changed. And then the last game of Magic I ever played was actually at a regional tournament, and it was like 3 days after Alliances.
That's when I stopped playing, as I played a tournament in like Jersey at some hotel, and Alliances was brand new. So I bought...
Because I remember I walked in, and I forgot that Alliances had come out. So I walk in, and a kid walks up to me. He's like, you want to buy an Alliance booster? And I was like, no fucking way. No, goddamn it, how much? He's like, $20.
No, it wasn't $20.
No, he said $20 because it was a regional tournament, right? Where else are you going to get them?
See, the thing is, I was at the tournament, and Alliances just came out, and I went into the dealer's room, and they had plenty, and they were $2.
They didn't. So this kid was trying to scalp him. So I was like, man, I can't win the tournament now because people are going to buy all the good Alliance cards and win. And then I walk into the tournament room, and there's the biggest hand-drawn poster I've ever seen. It was like a big piece of poster with electrical tape forming the letters, and it said, no Alliances allowed. Type 1A only. And I remember that was like the best. I still fucking lost the tournament like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, I got completely hosed because I'd only ever played against my loser friends, and, we didn't know the strategies or anything,
well, the thing
despite
is,
buying books and magazines.
I knew the perfect deck. And I probably could have won. I couldn't afford the perfect deck.
Yeah, it's
so
true.
I made some poison deck that relied heavily on getting certain cards early on.
Yep. Anyway, so the World of Warcraft card game, right? We didn't want to compare it to Magic, but It's a game where you put down resource cards and then you summon monsters.
No, you don't forget.
And then you attack.
It's every round. All right, you draw resource cards. You can put one down per turn. You tap, or I'm sorry, exhaust by rotating 90 degrees to the right. And you then it's just colorless mana.
Yep.
And creatures, and the best part is the guy's like, it's not magic, but I'm like, all right, so I tap this. He's like, yeah, no, you exhaust it. Like he touched himself. And then finally, I decided, all right, I'm going to get him. I was like, all right, so I played a creature. And I was like, so I can't attack on the first round, right? And he's like, yeah, summoning sickness. And I was like, what's it called in this game? He's like, I forget what he said.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, it's just magic.
But basically, all right, the thing is, despite the game largely being the same as Magic, like the World of Warcraft MMO, World of Warcraft is fundamentally the same as the MUDs that preceded it. Yet, it was polished heavily. All the annoyances that were on top of the fundamental flaws were washed away in the World of Warcraft.
Now,
the World of Warcraft card game has all the fundamental flaws of Magic the Gathering and other similar collectible card games. But all of the annoyances on top of those have been washed away.
Now, I don't want to get into the long discussion of exactly why, but, I mean, people would argue like, oh, but Magic has this, but Magic has this, and I guess we can take that to the forums. I don't want to get into it, especially since this is our news bit.
Yeah.
But playing the game, it was just Magic, but they removed, like, some of the more annoying mechanics of Magic. Like, the best example is resources. Any round, you can play a land. Well, I guess they're quests, and they have an extra little carrot to dangle.
I was thinking, why don't I just make a deck with no quests? The quests are not as good as cards, as non-quest cards, right? So just make a deck of all non-quests, and you can use any card as a land, in quotes.
Well, the quests do get you things.
They do, but I think the quests were not nearly as useful as actual cards.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it would. We'd have to see more of the cards.
Yeah, I don't know enough about all the cards available.
Thing is, the game is pretty much 100% deck building. And the guy was like, no, it isn't. And he showed us a strategy. He's like, no, what if you want to, and
he's like, what if you bluffed? And I'm like, oh, that would, it's like, come on.
He was like, I could attack him now for 5 damage, or I could wait until I have a whole bunch of attacks and then attack him all at once for the 1-round kill. And it's totally awesome.
And I was like, but wait, I can attack every turn and then the guy can defend even if he just attacked. Why would I ever not attack unless I was going to die from attacking?
And it just, basically playing the game, it was just this kind of simplified Magic game. It comes down to 100%, well, I guess maybe 90%, deck building and knowing what cards the other person's going to play. And kind of like how Magic tournaments, it was all about sideboard management and pregame tactics. Well, pregame strategy. Once you played, there were no tactical decisions at all. There were only strategic decisions, but you just made all those decisions before you played.
It's basically, right, instead of rock, paper, scissors, imagine rock, paper, scissors, right? But instead of just rock, paper, and scissor, you have like 1,000 different things you can choose from. Nuclear missile defender.
So what you do, though, is you pick, you and your friend each pick
fist.
100 of these secretly. And then you pick another 10 that you can swap in and out with.
Yep.
And then you play a game, and then you're both allowed to swap in and out, and then you play another game, and then you're both allowed to swap in and out, then you play a third game, and whoever wins 2 out of 3 wins.
It's just complicated rock, paper, scissors.
Now,
there was nothing to it. It was disappointing.
We said we didn't want to compare this game to WoW either, and same with the collectible game, but in both instances, the people who were demoing these games for us would basically every other sentence say, it's exactly like WoW. We have tried to recreate the WoW experience 100%. It is WoW in cards.
Yep.
It is WoW. We are targeting WoW players.
Pretty much. I mean, WoW has a lot of people playing.
And they're targeting collectors. That, like, specifically with the collectible game, like, they were giving us straight up percentages of drop rates. And they were like, yes, we really want it. We expect people to collect every version and everything and collect. And the primary focus is collecting.
Yep. So screw that shit.
And they pretty much even said that they're going after the sunk costs. Like, I eventually got the miniatures people to say something to the effect of, well, yeah, the more they have, the more likely they are to keep buying more. You're not going to just give up if you already own all these figures, right? And I was like, wow, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
So, speaking of WoW, I have talked about this before. I'm going to make it my thing of the day only because I'm possibly going to do something epic. But at the same time, I'm kind of afraid of doing this. But you see, the first MMO was Sierra's The Realm Online. And I've talked about it a few times, how I played this game for longer than WoW had existed, though that is no longer true because WoW's been around a while now. But I'll put it to you straight. Not only is the Realm still online, not only is the website still up, not only are the forums still active, not only are people still playing, but it's $70 a year and there's still a free trial.
That's $70 a year isn't too bad compared to some other MMOs.
But what I'm thinking I want to do, because remember, this game had like 30,000 people in it.
See if your
at its
account
peak.
is still in there.
Well, theoretically, I was given an account in perpetuity,
Nah.
but I'm sure it's not there anymore. But
It could be.
I think I don't even remember my password. Fuck if I remember.
So
But
you saw the old email addresses.
yes, Elsendar@geocities.com. yeah, I still got that.
It could have been merged with the Yahoo account.
Yes, a Yahoo account that I don't have the password for anymore.
You get it recovered.
How? It does. I don't have an alternate email address in there. My alternate email address was the GeoCities one. Because I didn't want. I hate
There
Yahoo.
has to be a way.
I don't think there's a way.
Well, anyway.
Anyway, I think I'm gonna make a free account and go in and see just what the fuck it's like in there.
Are you sure it's actually like, still going, or is it just like a website?
I telnetted to the port just now, and it was there.
All right.
It gave the same response that it gave when I was a kid.
All right.
So I'm gonna find out. I'm kind of afraid.
Okay.
I'm just gonna link to the Realm. You can look at some pictures. Remember, this was the first MMO, and
Didn't Meridian 59 come a little earlier?
No, this
Or
game
was a
came-
little bit later.
a little bit later. They were similar in time.
Because Meridian 59, I didn't even know about the realm until you talked about
I
it.
played Meridian 59 too. It was garbage.
Oh, it was total trash.
It was garbage like times 1,000.
Like, when those games were coming out, basically all those games did was popularize MUDs because people are like, oh man, I'd like to play that kind of game. Oh, wait, they're charging a lot of money. Oh, but wait, there's these text-based ones that are the same game, but they're free. I'll do those.
See, but I remember at the same time, there was one other game. I think Furcadia, of all things, was based on the same engine, but it was basically a text MUD, but they kind of skinned it, kind of like how there's that skin for Dwarf Fortress.
Some people made like text MUDs, right? But then they would clear a client application that would, basically it was just a telnet, program. But instead of showing you the actual text in the terminal, it would read the text. The client would read the text and then render graphics based upon it. And then you would click buttons in the interface and it would send the text. So it's just like a GUI on top of, the existing telnet MUD. So you could play the MUD with the GUI or play the MUD with the typing.
So the Realm exists, and apparently, according to Wikipedia, which I just looked up now, there's still like 200 people in there.
Oh, wow.
What are those people like?
Watch, one of those people is someone who remembers you.
That would be kind of frightening. I mean, if Elemental Flame or Loriana or Elminster are in there,
Oh, minister.
because Elminster was taken by some other guy. I still remember the night. It was sad, but when Princess Diana died, and I had a friend in the game whose name was Princess Di, and he had had that name for forever, long before Princess Diana died. And I remember him saying in the public channel, man, I'm going to get so much undeserved shit for this.
That's like the guy who's playing Counter-Strike, and his name was Osama bin Laden on September 10th. And then...
having the name Osama bin Laden wasn't making you any friends before that.
No, it wasn't, but it was still...
Besides, you can change your name in Counter-Strike.
Yeah, you can.
I used to play Counter-Strike with the trollingest names sometimes. But
Depends on the server.
It's not, the Realm, if I had my millions, it wasn't that easy to transfer my millions to someone else. I'd basically have to go to like another account's house and dump it in the front yard and then change and hope that no one goes to the house and grabs it. But anyway.
Yep. Yeah, now that we have new computers, you want to, I remember a long time ago we said we are going to do the WoW free trial. It's moving up in the queue, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it is. But at the same time,
I don't imagine it taking more than like 4 hours.
I think we should
so.
play every modern death match because there aren't many death matches left in the world.
Oh, definitely.
Even though I contend, now I'm not going to back this up because I haven't played any death match since Quake 3. And when I say death match, I mean hardcore, old school, frags and Gibbs, and that's it.
I played Quake 4 deathmatch once for a little bit. It was all right.
I'm also talking PC only, none of that Halo
It was
stuff.
PC.
Yeah, but like
Halo 1's on the PC.
No,
Halo
I'm saying
2 's
games that
gonna
are
be.
only on the PC.
Oh, all right.
Because it's kind of a different game otherwise for a lot of reasons. But I contend, I postulate, I guess that Lithium 2 deathmatch for Quake 2 was probably the most skill-based and best overall FPS deathmatch ever made.
I think that's mostly your sentimental values.
I don't know. I think in terms of the cap on the skill, I think it had the highest cap. As in, I don't think any human ever achieved the cap.
Maybe.
I know people achieved the cap in Quake 3.
So my thing of the day here, right? This is something everyone on the internet has probably already seen. It's not really that new. There's just a new YouTube video of it that the links got passed around. But this is like, I hadn't seen it before, despite knowing it was old. And this is like right up my alley of things that I think are awesome. It's a robot. The robot is inside the box. The box is actually, you could say, is part of the robot. There's a switch on the outside of the box. You flick the switch. The box opens, and the robot the robot is the box, but the robot will flick the switch in the other direction. and then it will close itself.
I will point out, I remember very clearly that not in the realm. In Quest for Glory, you go into this bad place at one point with dangerous wizardy stuff all around, and there's a box with a big lever, and you pull the lever, and this hairy-ass arm comes out and pulls the lever to make the door close. It's exactly like your little box.
Awesome. I like this box.
So, this won't take long. Tonight, talking about Risk.
Yes, it is a game that is very famous. It's like a war game. I guess it is a war game, even though I don't want to dignify it in any way.
Risk is a almost completely random game that for some reason Americans have this fixation on, kind of like Monopoly or Sorry or like Headache.
Yeah, it has like this place.
Pop-O-Matic Trouble.
Yeah, it has like this place in people's mind. Like people know what Risk is. Like a lot of people have played it. It's popular. It's on the shelves in anywhere that board games are sold. Unlike say Settlers of Catan, which is not on the shelves anywhere board games are sold. And you know, it's taken it is a place in pop culture. Had the Seinfeld episode where the Ukraine is weak, very famous, very funny, right? But Risk as a game is really not good at all. It's a complete waste of time.
I mean, it can be fun if you have like a Risk party or everyone's really into it.
Even when we had a Risk party, that's sort of like when I finally realized that wasn't fun.
See, the Risk party was fun. The main reason it was fun is that it was like the full-on extended front row crew, and we had 3 simultaneous games of Risk going in the same room, and it was pretty much just a giant, crazy, loud socializing party that happened to have Risk in the center of it.
Yeah, the Risk. And it's a funny thing. It's like when I was a kid, right? Like I didn't know about the real quality games, so I was like, Risk. Oh yeah, real game. All right.
See, I guess as a kid I knew better because even I'd play Risk with my family, and the whole time it'd be like, "This is random bullshit. That was bullshit. This game's just random bullshit.
Yep.
We might as well just flip a coin."
So my family wouldn't play with me. I could play with my brother, and sometimes I could play with friends coming over. But you know, basically, it's like the game, like I liked it as a kid because I liked moving things around. I liked playing with little soldiers and moving around a map, and you know, I liked rolling dice, you know, and but the game itself like didn't bother me at that young age. And later on, you know, it's like every time we would play, like someone would just give up and quit, or someone would like flip the board over. You know, it was getting really stupid and annoying, and I felt like it was sort of weird because I blamed the people I was playing with instead of blaming the game, you know, because like I was sort of having fun moving the pieces around. It's like when the game would sort of crumble apart before actually finishing, I'd be like, it's you. Why didn't you go through on the game? You suck, blah. And you know, but it took a while to realize, oh, the game sucks. That's why.
So if you like Risk and you don't play German board games, play German board games. At least play Axis and Allies, which is marginally better.
At least play. I mean, you're even better off playing an actual miniatures game like Warhammer or BattleTech or one of those.
Or even Castle Risk.
Castle Risk is bad.
Wasn't that bad. It's better than Risk.
It is better than Risk, but that's not saying much. It's like saying it smells better than poop.
But God, Risk is just, I can say one thing. Australia guarantees you the solid second place.
I guess it does. Yes, it does.
I don't know, just playing Risk is just not fun. And I'll tell you all one thing, and I think I said this before, and some people in the forums, one guy emailed me, and he was like, Rim, I did what you said, and I win at Risk a lot now. And pretty much, always be on the offensive. If you're on the offensive, and you outnumber your opponent about 3-2, you will always win in aggregates.
Yeah. I mean, you might lose a battle here and there, but you're going to win most of the time. And if you just keep battling everywhere, if you start 10 battles a turn and you win 6 of them, you're going to pretty much be equally powerful as the other guy. And you're going to gain 6 territories and, lose 3. You're going to be up, and you do it again the next turn, you'll be up again, and you'll get more than him, and then momentum sets in and you win. And that's the game. I think the problems with Risk are this. Number one, there's a lot of randomness going on.
But that seems to be a trend in almost every American-style board game ever made.
Yep. Number 2, the cards, really kind of dumb. Really.
I mean, I remember playing Pop-O-Matic Trouble, which was, I don't know how popular it is among families nowadays, but when I was a kid,
I saw some people playing Travel Trouble at the laundromat.
That game was like I played a lot of board games as a kid with my family, and I'd always get into arguments because I would always contend that every game we owned was completely random and there was no point in playing them.
Yeah, I mean, Trouble
And they'd
was
always
fun
say, no, you're just a sore loser.
Trouble was fun because of the Pop-O-Matic part. Other than that, it was just roll, move, roll, move, roll, move.
It was just Candyland, basically.
Basically. It's same Uncle Wiggly even.
Oh, God, Uncle Wiggly.
Even worse than Candyland.
We have like an old 1930-something version of Uncle Wiggly.
That's pretty good. I like Uncle Wiggly. I like Candyland. I just don't like the games. I like the theme.
Shoots and Ladders.
Shoots and Ladders, same game.
Actually, there was one good game. It was called Payday, and it was kind of manage your money.
Other people had that game. I didn't, but I'd seen it around.
It was better than most of those games.
Careers was a better version.
Yeah, the worst game was Life.
Life, yeah. Careers is basically Life, but sucks less.
But I don't know.
I have Careers in the closet. We could play it.
I would recommend that if you ever have the urge to play Risk ever again, just hit yourself on the arm with a newspaper and say, nope. And then go buy like Illuminati or something and play that. It's just as tedious, but at least it's more fun.
Yeah. The thing that I think is the biggest problem with Risk is that it takes too long for what you get. I mean, look at a game like Shogun, say, or well, Samurai Sword, sorry.
That game is awesome.
Right.
And no, if you want to play Risk, play Shogun instead.
Yes, well, Samurai Swords, formerly known as Shogun, right? Because there's other games named Shogun that are not Samurai Swords.
In fact, there's 2 other games named Shogun
We're
that I know
talking
of.
Milton Bradley's Game Master series, Shogun/Samurai
The one where you
Swords.
roll D12s.
It comes in a box that looks a lot like the Axis and Allies box. It's in the same set. All right. So in that game, there's a lot of different stuff going on. You got the Koku management, you got the ninja, you got the Ronin, you got the castles, right? There's all sorts of different things that spice the game up. In Risk, it's just how many units do you have? Where are they? That's it. It's a number and a spot. It couldn't be more bland with just nothing to think about, nothing to do. It's just my number's bigger than yours and it's next to yours. Attack. And like, you can just move all your guys through your own territory infinitely, right? If I remember.
Not fully.
Pretty much. And basically, I remember I would just you basically move all your guys to the border territories, and all your inner territories would be pretty much empty. And that was just like, so all it was just, okay, I put most my guys next to most of your guys, and then we roll the dice a whole bunch and see who wins. And maybe once in a blue moon, the guy with less guys would hold out. Like, one unit would somehow destroy like 10. It would be crazy.
Quote, when a player has finished attacking, he or she has the option to move any number of armies from one and only one of their territories into adjacent territory that occupy. And then there's the whole fortifying after the fact stuff too. But
yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Risk is not worth playing ever again, pretty much. Don't bother with it.
No. and it's famous. I don't know why it's famous. It just is, and I get the feeling it's weird because in other mediums of art creation, right, things which have become famous, it might not always be the most artistically wonderful and perfect things that get the most famous, but the things that do get famous have some sort of merit, like really famous movies. You don't see really terrible movies becoming really popular. I mean, you might see like a summer blockbuster getting really popular, but it's not going to be like some horrendously bad one that like people are like barfing when they watch, or like it's so painful, They just, they might be average. Or you might, the really popular video games, the Halos, the Maddens, the GTAs, right? They're not that bad. I mean, they're no E.T., right? But in board games, or at least in the U.S., the really popular ones are the really terrible ones. They're just so bad.
I don't know what it is, but what is America and their ridiculous obsession with bad games?
Monopoly, so bad. Risk, so bad. I guess.
Here's this might be the illuminating point.
Scrabble is not so bad.
Scrabble's pretty bad.
No, it's not so
that bad.
It's not.
There are worse games.
Stratego's not so bad either, but it's.
But I point out that if you play Monopoly according to the rules, it's not nearly as bad of a game.
It's just incredibly unfun.
It's not that unfun.
It's pretty unfun.
What I'm saying, though, you're missing the point. The default game, Monopoly, as it is in the rule book originally, is not that bad of a game.
It's not that bad.
You let me finish. Good God.
Yeah.
But every American I've ever met who plays Monopoly, they all play with the same set of house rules to the point that everyone in America thinks these are the rules, even though they're not written in any rule book ever. And all these rules serve to do is make the game like 4 times more random. It's like they try to remove skill from games and make it more fair.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the reason, though, people do that in Monopoly is because if you play Monopoly by the rules, the real way it's supposed to be played, it's very painful and unfun.
Not
basically,
really. It's not any less painful.
It does if you suck, because you basically have not so much money. You can't just buy everything you land on. You have to actually think about things and do things. And
like what? What are the original rules?
Well,
what's different?
Someone lands on a property, like you auction it off instead of buying it.
No. If you land on a property, you have the right to buy it. If you don't buy it, then it is auctioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have the right to buy it, though. It doesn't just automatically go to auction.
Yeah, but I remember I played a DOS version that sort of had the auctioning, but you could actually opt not to auction, which is not an option in the real rules. You have to auction it if you don't buy it. But anyway, the point is, if you play Monopoly by the real rules, it's not, people like to have lots of money and they like to just buy everything they land on. They like to collect the little properties and move their guy around the board, and by modifying the rules, by putting lots of money in the middle and getting it when you land on free parking and stuff like that, it makes the game like you're getting more stuff and you go, wee!
Well, that's just it. It seems like a lot of people really don't like games of skill and they want to play games that are effectively just pretty colors.
Yeah, they just want to collect lots of thingies and feel good about collecting lots of thingies.
Oh, well. We might get some hate from the fact that we're hating on Risk, but you know what? Risk is a terrible game.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like this whole show really, I mean, it's technically the Risk show, but really it's just the bitch about bad games show. I mean, we bitched about World card games sucking some more. We bitched about, the sucky Risk. Rondo of Swords wasn't that bad. It's okay puzzle game.
I mentioned Advance Wars, and I like it a lot.
I guess, yeah.
Man, want to play Advance Wars right now?
No, we gotta play other games.
No, we don't.
We got Mario Kart and such.
Yeah, we played a few races of Mario Kart. All I have to say, it's really fun, except when the AI is around, because there's so many items that it's not worth playing.
I gotta figure out how to turn the AI off, and if that's not possible, it's gonna be very annoying.
Yeah, if I'm sure there's a way. We've played the game for like 10 minutes. And then we came
you're
up
right,
here.
you're right.
But if there is no way to turn off all those extra AI players, I'm done with Mario Kart already. I know that's not the case, but...
Yeah, we'll probably play it when people come over, but it's,
Yeah. Plus, people said, they took out snaking completely, but I discovered already that if I pick a car with the worst handling I can, I can totally gold spark on straightaways.
You can, but it's not snaking because you're not like having to hurt your hand by wiggling back and forth.
Yeah, but it's the same kind of gaming. It's just not quite as bad. But you can
The
still.
problem I had with the snaking was not the boosting on the straightaway, but the fact that you had to basically, the way to win the game was by shaking your hand furiously back and forth.
Well, all you had to do really was don't shake your hand, shake the DS.
Well, still, a game that you win, that's basically the shaking game, not fun.
Yeah.
If it's sort of a slow, actual doable control, then it's acceptable.
You know, it's funny. I thought, oh man, I have a bunch of risk anecdotes, but when I think back, I have a couple of Castle Risk anecdotes, but I don't want to talk about Castle Risk.
Yeah, Castle.
That game.
I barely remember Castle Risk.
I owned it.
Yeah, you did.
The only anecdotes I have are either, yeah, we had this Risk party one time, and every other one ends with, yeah, everyone got pissed at each other and quit playing after about an hour.
Yeah, that's pretty much all my Risk things were you cheated, or the game is bullshit, I give up, there's nothing I can do, or this isn't fun anymore, it's been going on too long, or, no one ever finishes that game. No one finishes Monopoly either. What does that tell you? What does that tell you?
I'm liking more and more because we bought a couple of games over the weekend and, last weekend.
Yeah, we'll talk. We bought Diplomacy, and I bought Through the Ages.
But both of these games have something that other games don't have. They have a way for a player to quit that doesn't just end the game and break everything.
Right, like, because, let's say you're playing Monopoly and you say, I quit. Well, there's no rules in the game for quitting, and it sort of ruins the game if someone quits, because now what do you do with their money? What do you do with their properties?
Well, it doesn't so much in Monopoly, but there are other games where it totally ruins. Like Settlers. What now?
Yeah, right? If someone quits in the middle of the game, it just ruins the game. But these games actually have built-in rules, Diplomacy and Through the Ages, and say, if someone wants to quit, this is what you do. And it's actually, now, that's really good. I like that. Especially for long games, a way for someone to quit that doesn't break the game for the remaining players. That's awesome.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Odeo on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.